So we have a good group of guests, including Carlos, myself, Mark, and Joe T. YCI Properties, that includes Shadi, Joe, and Isamar, who's here. We got John, Russell Wester. Sorry, Russell, I two S's in your name, and Alexis, David Van Leeuwen, Boyan, and Bruno. I think Bruno is representing, and then of course Jad, to share their stories, and that's what we're going to do today. Lessons learned. Hopefully keep it to 10 to 15 minutes each. You know, kind of just end the year, sorry, on a good note. So let me go ahead.
Actually, is it okay for me to suggest that, just so we can definitely get around the room, and then maybe we can go back, that people try to 5 to 7?
5, yeah, okay. And I'll keep a timer on, not because I'm OCD, but just so we could maximize our time here, and you could say what you got to say. So goals of Grid, again, just to put it at top of mind before we get started, you know, grow your people, grow your network, you know, invest in people, return on your relationships is ROI. Invest in people and assets. So we're not only investing in assets, but we're investing in people, you know, your resources, your developers, your contractors, your GCs, your title companies, and develop leadership and expertise. So I think if I look around the room, I know for sure that we've done all these 4 tenets of Grid this year. You know, shit, I really look forward to 2022. So we're going to get into member intros, I guess. Of course, you know, anything that you hear here, sorry for the background noise, it's my niece yelling, is, you know, take it or leave it. It's advice, but we're not legal professionals or accountants. So that's the legal stuff there. So first up, John, if you wanted to just, you know, whatever top of mind, highs, lows, pits, peaks of 1242 Oats.
Sure. Nick brought me this property, I guess it was last August, a little more than a year ago. And it was like a classic Washington D.C. row house, which probably hadn't been updated whatsoever in like 50, 60 years, and just needed to be modernized. And this is sort of the model which I've used in a few other houses in Washington, where it just really need to be reimagined so that it can be functionally usable in today's times. So we I purchased it about, I think like $585, all debt, 100%. And then I basically redid almost everything. I kept one bathroom as is, just because there just was only so much I wanted to tackle, and I was concerned about losing money. And so I kept the upstairs hall bathroom, but I put in a new full bathroom in the basements, renovated the basement into a suite. I added in a bathroom on the second floor. Added a skylight just to open up the second floor in terms of light, and I put on a new siding in the back so that it was properly enclosed, and opened up the wall between the dining room and the kitchen, so it had a much more open feel. And I put in a new forced air system, so therefore I could take out all the radiators and then I gained back a lot of floor space that way. So at the end of the day, we rented it pretty readily for $43.50. So I'm pretty happy about that, and trucking along with it. So I think we rented now for about 3 months. tenants were, what I was looking for was basically there were 4 younger professional women. So they have asked me a lot of questions up front. They need a little bit of help up front just to occupy a home as opposed to a predictable rental in a big building. So that's to be expected. And so I've had to work my way through that, but otherwise it's been a pretty smooth sailing. So it's all good. Questions?
I think that's a good example of a young professional group house rental in a neighborhood that has great long-term prospects for value appreciation and rental value appreciation.
How did you finance it, John?
Down payment was through a HELOC, and then the rest of it was through conventional 30-year fixed financing. And we just key in on what our Carlos just said is my last project was in Petworth. It was in the heart of Petworth, about like a block and a half from the Upshur quarter, walkable in like 7 minutes to the metro. And so that was an up and coming, rapidly developing neighborhood. And so is this area of Trinidad, in which you're like, say, 5-10 minutes to the metro, to Union Market, and to 8th Street. And so it really is at a nice location where you have a community which is rapidly changing. They have all great infrastructure there, and they're very, very proximate to a whole bunch of infrastructure and commercial development, which I think is really going to pay dividends in terms of property value.
And John, were there multiple offers on this property when you purchased it? Or since you were buying and holding it and you had like a different exit, did you have less competition for it?
So I'll let Nick address that, but I believe there were at least 2 other offers, and Nick was able to make ours shine the most. And again, I mean, it wasn't. I think there were other developers who were in the mix, and I was not the most seasoned of them. So as a result, I had to pay a little bit more of a premium. Although I think for what I was doing, I didn't really necessarily want to have a huge return. I was looking more for a modest return, and I think for my goals, it worked. Nick, do you have any more to add on the competition?
Yeah, I wanted to say 2 things. One, this was a house. The first thing you said was that it hadn't been updated in 50 years. That is completely true. It had the old countertops. It had the craziest looking basement and wiring, but it was well kept. So I think this strategy was nice because you didn't have to demolish everything. You were able to salvage a lot of the original features, and you could really see that here is that, you kept the floors, that looks like the original trim. And then in terms of the competition, yeah, it was, I didn't think we were going to get it. I had a good rapport with the agent, so there were higher offers. They decided to take ours because we were doing 20% down conventional financing opposed to hard money. And I think the other thing was that we've, Cheryl Abrams, who's the agent, has done deals with me in the past. But yeah, I think it was listed for $560 and we got it for around $580, maybe $590.
Nicholas, why would the agent want to take? Why wouldn't the agent want to take an all cash offer over a conventional offer?
I don't know. Ask Cheryl.
It's Nick's good looks.
Nick's good. Yeah, that's true. I did take her out to Panera Bread.
Maybe
she did like it, and she's on the older side. I'm on the younger side.
maybe it paid a little bit more, and it paid a little bit more, but the borrower was worth betting on.
I think so, and I think we met the owner, John, if I remember. So that
Yeah,
has to do with it.
Yeah, so I would add is that I think why they liked us as well is that we weren't like a traditional like developer who just wanted to say split it into like 2 units, optimize for cash. We actually saw and appreciated a lot of the historic value of the trim and otherwise, and we wanted to pass it on to future tenants, and I think they appreciated that. And that I think I'm the real person who wanted to invest and rejuvenate an old property, and I think they appreciated that acumen that I brought to the table. I wasn't just somebody who would walk in and do like a cookie cutter development model.
Yeah, I remember meeting her too. She was the type of seller for whom that could matter.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Sometimes you could be the, handsomest person in the room, like, in terms of all cash high, but sometimes they just have a better connection with someone else, and it kind of sucks. And that happens to us all the time as developer, people that are buyers that are putting in bids. It's sometimes they take the highest bid, but sometimes they take a bid that's slightly less, just because they connect or they hit it on the right spot. They do a little bit early, they're late, especially in this crazy market. So thank you, John, for sharing. If we have no other questions, I'm going to go to the next slide. We got David. So David is a part of our sales team. I was super impressed with this one. We thought he was crazy, and he's a great storyteller. So I'll let David take it from here. And I'll let Joe, he had some guidance along the way. So David, you here?
Yeah, I'm here, Nick. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
So this was my first foray into a lot of things. I have been a buy and hold investor. I've got rental properties in Columbia Heights. We're doing a project in Trinidad, but this was first on a number of things. First of all, it was a short sale, and the ups and downs with buying a short sale. I've been doing a lot of YouTube listening and trying to understand, pros and cons of short sale. Thought I would jump into this place kind of quickly. We put in an offer in November of 2020. We didn't close until May 14th, 2021. And when you talk to the banks, it's never, you pick up the phone and you talk to them. It's not even days that go by in between correspondences. It's weeks. So that was a whole introduction to dealing with short sales. Also, this was my first condo that I bought. And so, buying, fee simple properties, I'm the king of the castle. I can do what I want when I want, within zoning and within DC noise regulations and everything. But here there's this whole thing called the Condo Association that sort of sat there and plunked down and was sticking fingers into my schedules and budget, and who are these contractors and what are they doing? And it's a whole can of worms I wasn't quite used to. Happy with the experience. Also, this was a full gut renovation. I mean, you can see what they look like on the left. This place was, in my mind, it was beautiful when we walked in. It's one of those places where you open the door and it's like, wow, there's a dead rat right there. And it was not even recently dead. It's like mummified. I mean, you just see the tail and the carcass and the claws and the skeleton. And it's like, yeah, this guy's been dead for a long time. And it turned a lot of people off. And I'm like, that's where you make you can capture the upside, is because people would walk in there. I mean, I walked in there in shorts and I remember just scratching my arms with the fleas. You can just see them jumping off the ground. I mean, it was horrible. The previous owner had died a number of years before. Nothing was done with the property, deplorable shape. And I was thinking, this is a fantastic buy. We're just going to gut this thing, look at it for what it could be, not look at it for what it is. It's about 1,150 square feet, 3-bedroom, 1 bath. We added a bath, new floors, new kitchen, new drywall, new recessed lights, new everything. I'd done a lot of minor renovations before, a kitchen here, a bathroom there, but this was the first time I was into a full gut job. Where we got this idea was, again, watching YouTube videos about this BRRRR method, and I'd been watching BRRRR this and BRRRR that and pros of the BRRRR and cons of the BRRRR. But all of a sudden I said, I just need to try this to see if this buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat is actually something that's doable. I'd gotten a lot of questions about that from some of my buyer investor clients. I had never done it. And so I just wanted to try it to see if it's something that is doable. And of course, it's nothing as easy as they make it look in a 10-minute YouTube segment. The trials and tribulations of doing all this stuff with the finding the property and renovating the place and dealing with the condo association, dealing with the length of time to close. When we finally got to the rent side of things, that was another first. I had talked to Nick, and he had some clients who had dealt with DC voucher holders, and they were telling me about, yeah, this is a great thing. And then I would talk to other people, and they'd say, no, that's not a great thing. And so you're trying to weigh the pros and the cons. We ultimately went with the DC Housing Choice Voucher Program. We got a lovely tenant in there, and she via the DC government pay their rent on time in full every start of the month. I mean, it clicks over to the first of the month, and 12/01, boom, there's an automatic payment. So not a lot of problems with that. Not a lot of problems with the tenants. So like I say, this was just a lot of firsts for me. This was first condo, first dealing with an association, first time DC voucher holder, first time short sale. But I guess what the takeaway is that once you actually do it, whether you do it good or whether you stumble along the way and you ultimately get it, or even if you don't get it, at least it tells something that you can tell the people around you, hey, I do this or don't do this. It's always a learning lesson. So with that,
what I love about that, David, to interrupt, I mean, this is beautiful from start to finish. And both houses, even John's house, you're creating better housing stock and for affordable prices. I mean, it's just so nice to see something that it's a slumlord to, I don't know, a gold ticket. I would love to live in that place.
I mean, the other thing I would just add is that you want to go kind of higher end, because then when you do the refinance, that's when the appraiser is going to come in and say, wow, those benches there by the window are actually built-ins. We moved a washer dryer, added a closet. We bought this place for $405. We put about $70,000 into it, and we just got the appraisal back last week. It appraised for $630.
Wow.
So that was a huge upside. And then the DC government voucher program for a 3-bedroom in the Columbia Heights neighborhood, even though this is Parkview, they still call it Columbia Heights. That's $4,069 a month. And then I have to pay utilities. So it's a very healthy return. I would even say above market for Parkview.
David,
way above market.
David, I have a question for you, if I could. How did the condo association react to renting Section 8?
They never asked. They just said, I asked from the very beginning when I purchased this place. I said I intend to renovate this place, which they were all grateful for because the condo president lived above it, and she wasn't getting a mouse problem, she was getting a rat problem. So she was happy that somebody was going to come in and make the place better. That nobody balked about rentals over there. There are a number of rentals, and I never brought it to their attention that this was going to be a Section 8 voucher holder. I, in fact, didn't know until nearly completing the renovation this was the avenue that I was going to go for. I put up dummy postings on Craigslist, thinking I could get some young professionals. Some medical professionals were right there by Children's Hospital, but the timing, we missed that sort of August window. And so we finished our renovation sort of end of September, October, and I needed somebody in there quickly. And having those conversations, with Nick's clients about the DC voucher program, the pros outweighed the cons and I went in that direction. But no, I never brought it to the attention of the HOA that this was going to be a Section 8 voucher holder.
And John,
Have they reacted since? Have they reacted in any way since? Like,
No.
seeing that it is Section 8?
Not at all.
Okay.
I don't even think they know, to be honest.
John, when you signed the lease for vouchers, it's a normal. I just bought 4 houses in Stafford, and all of them are all voucher tenants. You signed the lease with them, and then on the last page is where the government will guarantee it. In addition, there's no reason for anyone to ever know that they're voucher tenants. How would that even come up in a conversation?
And certainly they
And
would
if you-
have no basis.
And if
for-
you did, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like, if you did, it doesn't matter. I mean, there's laws, protecting that.
Yeah.
And then also, John, it's good for you if you do, if he does rented vouchers, because they do Section 8 inspections or voucher inspections every single year. And it's a huge pain in the ass for the landlord. So it's actually good for the people that live in the condo, knowing that someone comes in at least once a year to do a full inspection to make sure everything is working properly.
Cool.
Well, cool,
Awesome.
though. Thanks for sharing, David. Yeah, Section 8 is a golden ticket sometimes because they pay more than market rent, and this was one of the scenarios. And as you could see, they're going to live there for a very, very, very long time if the government's paying for it. So without further ado, Jad, you want to talk about this project in particular?
Oh, sure. I'm honored that it's even on there. So
It looks beautiful.
one more thing about condos for investors on here. So I also represent some friends sometimes. I had a friend buy a condo recently from a wholesaler, and he got it for, let's say, 300, and the ARV is 375. It doesn't need anything. What do you guys think that my client missed when he bought this condo? Why do you think this person sold it through a wholesaler and didn't list it the proper way or go through like an agent? Does anyone have any guesses? I bought it for 300. The ARV is about 389, 375. Doesn't need much. Why do you think that person listed it with Market Pro or one of the other wholesalers, and my client picked it up? What do you guys think could have been the major defect? Carlos, any ideas?
Maybe just difficulty with tenants.
No, the condo was vacant. The guy gave him a garage clicker. All right. And so I'm kind of foreshadowing. He gave him a garage clicker, but he didn't give him, Carlos? A parking space. So the guy had sold his parking space. And so the unit, every single unit has a parking space in that condo, except for this guy. And so we go to sell it. And of course, they're like going through the condo documents. They're like, how does this guy not have an assigned space? We don't understand this. And my client's like, listen, I got a garage clicker. And the guy says I have a spot. And the lady at the front desk even said that every person in the unit has a parking space. This is on Mass Ave. And it turns out that there is no parking space. And so imagine how much that affects your value of your property. So of course the buyer is pissed. They want a $30,000 credit because they say that Mass Ave parking spaces cost $25,000 or whatever. So anyways, just be careful if you guys are buying condos. Make sure that they have a parking space. And if they don't have a parking space, make sure that you're properly compensated for it. But isn't that a bummer, Carlos and Nicholas? All right, so this house right here is 5528 Rust Avenue. So I live in Oakton, Virginia, all right? Do you guys know how many times I actually bought this house sight unseen? I saw it come up on the, and I was like, man, this is a big house. And it was originally at 350. And then the agent cut the price to 300. I think it was like a Friday afternoon. I was like sitting here, just like I'm sitting here in front of my desk. And I was like, man, you see the stuff on the yellow? I was like, it doesn't really need much. And I looked up the comps like within 2 minutes. And I saw that some of the houses were going for like 650. I thought this was Baltimore County. That's how like ignorant I am. This actually turned out to be Baltimore City. And like the comps that I saw were like one zip code over and wasn't really the proper one on this one. So picked this one up for 300,000. I was the agent on it, so I got back like another 7 or 8,000. I had hard money on it, so they gave me the entire 300,000, I think. Yeah. And then I put up the money for the thing. This house kind of breaks my heart in the sense that the contractor that I used was excellent out of Baltimore, but I just thought she charged me way too much. The rehab cost for this, it was only 2 floors. It ended up costing me $140,000. So I got it for 300. The rehab was 140. I've only been to this house 3 times in my life. So I didn't even go there. So I mean, a good thing for investors on this call is if you guys have a really, really good GC, she pulled all the permits. She did everything. She picked out the colors. I just paid for the staging and I paid for the thing. I wish we had more pictures so I can show you what we did. Do you have more pictures, Nick, or no?
Yeah, I can pull them up.
It's up to you. I can just go through like the kitchen and what we did. So what we did is when I bought this house, there was no bathroom on the middle floor. You can't really sell a house if you don't have a bathroom on the middle floor. Although I just did one in Trinidad where we sold a house without a bathroom on the middle floor. I don't understand why they would buy it, but they paid us $815,000 for it. I don't get it. Anytime you have guests, you're gonna either have them go upstairs or go downstairs, but I guess people are willing to do that. So this one, I added a half bathroom, Baltimore City. It was in Mount Washington. You guys can look up the comps. Does anyone know what you guys, I bought it for 300, I put 140 into it. What do you guys think I sold it for? Anyone?
700.
I wish. So like the highest comp in that zip code, I think was like 500. So this is a weird thing about this one. I listed it for, see, this is a Mount Washington. See how you see it? Like all this was there. I really don't know what my contractor did for her to charge me 140,000. But again, I didn't want to drive to northern Baltimore from Fairfax, Virginia. So I was just like, okay. So you see how she did the kitchen? She didn't take down any walls. Just some like, you see that on the thing? I mean, not much. I keep going. You can see that she finished up the attic. So when we had a decision, do we finish up the basement or do you finish the attic? We decided to finish the attic. Why do you think we chose to finish or I chose to finish the attic instead of the basement? Does anyone know why? Why would you do that?
It's better square footage. You could sell it for price per square foot.
Yeah, see, that's why Nicholas is a badass agent, because you don't get any credit for finishing the basement on the appraisal. But if you finish the attic, then you've just added it. Keep going, Nicholas. We can show them the attic. You add a third more square footage. See, there's the attic. So before it was just like, you know, orange insulation. So they finished that whole thing.
Bathroom
And
too.
they just painted the basement. And so we didn't touch the basement.
Next time,
Yeah.
don't put these pictures in here. Yeah, leave these two out. Leave these out.
Okay. I shouldn't even put them in to begin with. So I ended up getting, so here's the worst part about this house. So I got an offer for 605,000. Again, I'm all in at 300 plus 140. So I'm all in at 440. So I got an offer in at 605 with a $20,000 appraisal guarantee, right? So, but it gets like, there was another person that was interested in the house. I kept messaging the agent, hey, the house is going live on Friday. And she just ghosted me. Of course, she went to go see it Sunday morning and they came in with an offer at 650,000. But I had ratified with these guys Saturday night. Like I couldn't eat for like a day and a half. I was so pissed that I took a 605 when the 649 came in the next morning. And so yeah, so I just bought this house. I was blessed to, anyone have any questions about it? I put a new roof, I painted it, finished the attic to add extra square footage.
Did you consider offering 10,000 to buy your way out of that contract?
So the only problem is that, so you guys know, everyone on this call, I flipped 42 houses just in was last year 2020? Whatever year COVID happened.
Yeah,
So in just the last 12 months, I flipped about 40 houses. So I've had my heart broken twice on appraisals, and I knew that there wasn't a comp that would help me on this. Even if I did accept the 649, there was no appraisal. It was an appraisal contingency. So even if I did take the 649, it came back at I had a house in Marshall where John went to go visit, and I had it at 749, and the appraisal came back at I think like 690. I just had a house.
Chad, you just said something about what you do in general that completely distracted me about this story about the specific house. Suddenly, I can't hear anything you're saying about this house. I can only ask you this question.
Yeah.
Did you say that you flipped 40 houses in the last year?
Yes, correct.
And you're still practicing law?
I mean, it's hard. I have a good salary, man. I love that. I love that. Although, like, my salary now is being dwarfed by. But I just want to say one more thing. If you can pull up, Nicholas, I just want to show you guys an appraisal that came in 70,000 low recently.
Sure.
On a flip that I had.
Where do you find the time?
What's the address?
Give me 1 second.
How many hours do you sleep?
Okay, you ready? Put in 11398 Yeats Drive. So I got someone to pay me 620 on this. I was all in at about.
Say that again.
11398 Yeats Drive. I just bought those 4 rentals in Stafford just to offset my taxes, Carlos. 11398 Yeats Drive, Catlett, Virginia.
Oh, Virginia.
So this is a house that was given to me by an agent, actually a Keller Williams agent. She said, Jad, do you want this? I picked it up for $395. I wanted a contractor that was licensed out in Catlett. So this guy charged me like 30% more than I was supposed to. Did you pull it up, Nicholas? Let me know what's out there. So anyways, I got a person to pay me $620,000. What do you guys think look, it's heartbreaking. 570. Get the appraisal. I had the person pay me $620 for this house. The appraisal came back at $550. Are you guys hearing that? $70,000 below what the contract price was. The appraiser's an asshole. Let me tell you why.
So what did you close at?
We closed at 570. They came up 20,000. I could have put it back on the market, but do you guys want to know why I didn't want to put it back on the market? Because it's out in the country. There's no internet. It's satellite service. You know. Also, the flooring. This is the first time I used this contractor. Some of the people told me that the flooring gave them motion sickness. On the bottom, they said that they weren't
just a split level in the boonies, and you got how much for it?
I had 620.
620 for a split level. Well, one thing we do, and you might want to consider even just hiring someone to meet them there, like maybe the agent that helps sell it, is we defend the comp.
Okay, so guys, pay attention to what Nicholas is saying. Don't gloss over that. So I was lazy, okay? And since I've done so many flips and all of them had come in at price, I just assumed. Never assume, especially with country houses. So this appraiser, normally if an appraiser would come in low, he would call me and say, hey, Jad, we're having problems comping your property. What comps did you use to get to 620? And I had my comps ready, but this guy was an asshole. So what he did was he just gave the appraisal without ever calling me and letting me know. Before he went to see the house, I said, please call me. I am around. If you have any trouble with the valuation, I am here. The guy basically said, fuck you. I don't care. I don't need your help. And he came in at 550.
They do that, yeah.
So you know what I started doing after that house, Nicholas?
What do you do?
No more Sentry lockbox. They have to call me. And I have like a super long conversation with them. I'm annoying as shit. Like 30 minutes.
I mean, yeah, that could have funded some college.
Telling them about how my kids aren't going to have Christmas gifts if you don't appraise it right. And blah, blah, blah.
Along those lines, anybody on this, in this group, if you ever are not selling a house, but you're getting it appraised so that you can refinance it, and in particular, if you're pushing, say you want to pull cash out, please call us and we will we'll defend the value with like we would if it was listed for sale. I just had a friend have an appraisal come in 150K short. I was like, Adam, what happened, dude? And he was like, what? I was like, remember, you're supposed to call me. We might not be able to make all the difference, but we can hopefully at least cover some of the gap. If not, get them to come in at the number that you need.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's real value for the investors on this call. Having, like, I have the lady listed a house for me in Spotsylvania. She's going to actually meet the appraiser there. I bought it for 210. I have it listed for 320. Well, I got an offer for 320. So she's going to meet him there. She has all the comps in her hand that she's going to meet them. So definitely as investors, like, you need people like Carlos and Nicholas and whoever else is on here that, know what they're doing with comps.
Okay, Jad. So you've avoided the question long enough. How do you squeeze all this into your schedule, and how many hours do you sleep?
Well, no, I mean, I love this stuff. So like, if you do what you love, then, it's not really work for me. Like I do like meetups like 3 times a week. Before COVID, I was going all the way out to like the MGM area for meetups. That's how I network with hard money lenders. That's how I network with wholesalers. Like,
how many hours a week? How many hours a week? I want cold hard facts. How many hours a week do you spend on law, and how many hours a week do you spend on your flipping?
So law I've been doing since like 2005. So I can be done with court by 12 o'clock. Like I know law like that. But after that, so from 5 o'clock to like 10, it's all like real estate. And then all day Saturday, all day Sunday. At 5 o'clock in the morning, I get all the alerts on my phone. I go through them to see like what's good. But for everyone on this call, if for us to make $1 million a year, all we need to do is make $83,000 a month, which only means we only have to do 1 or 2 houses a month. If we do 1 or 2 houses at $83,000 a net, we're making $1 million. Think about that. As a lawyer, look how many clients Carlos and Carlos used to be a lawyer, or still a lawyer, but doesn't practice. But imagine, Carlos, how many clients we have to talk to get to that $83,000 net. So that's why I think is we have a few other
part-time wealth builders here. I think I guess you make the time and you try to escape the 9 to 5, which hopefully you'll be able to do.
But my point, Nicholas, though, is that if you can just get 2 houses a month, you'll make $1 million a year. And if you just get 1 house at $83,000, you'll make $1 million a year.
So do you have an LLC for all the financing and all, or how do you do it all?
So good question. So if I have for my rentals, I have 2 different LLCs that I just buy BRR with them. And then for my my account says for to only pay 21% on my flips, I just have 1 LLC that just does flipping. And since I have a W-2 from my company, I charge a lot of taxes as an attorney. So I'm paying about 21% on the flipping side using an S corp.
Wait,
what sort of rates do you get on mortgages from LLC? Like, how much of a premium do you pay on your mortgages?
So I've wrapped all my single family homes into a commercial loan. So
Okay.
once you guys get to 8 or more, once you get to 8 or more houses, you guys can go to United Bank, refinance it into like a 4% rate over 20 or 25 years. And that way it doesn't affect your personal credit. That's what I would strongly recommend for anyone on here that has several single family homes.
We're gonna have to have another Jad featured in 2022 talking about how to do more deals and keep a full-time
I have
job.
a boot camp. You guys have to pay me like $15K up front and another $15K when you guys get a deal. What do you think, Carlos? Hey, Carlos, you can
This model, the problem with it is I don't think it's as profitable as your other activities. But no, we insight into the mind, the crazy scrambled plate mind of Jad would be a nice good session to have. Maybe we could do that in the first quarter if you'd be willing to spare a little time.
Yes, so thank you guys for letting me share. I'll just obviously just another, but to anyone that's on this call, like, it doesn't just buy low, sell high. But the biggest thing about this one, that if you guys can take away anything from the success story, is one, my GC charged me a lot, 140,000. I think I could have gotten this done for 100, but I didn't know Baltimore at all. I don't know how to pull permits. I live over an hour and 10 minutes away from this. So just pay the premium and have someone, they can imagine. I only went to this house twice, maybe 3 times a month. The only time I went there was just to put my sign in the ground. That was it. And then just to remove my, actually, I didn't even remove my sign from the ground. When the buyer's agent did the final walkthrough, I asked him to pick up my sign and take it back to his office. So imagine, I made over 130,000 going to a house twice. I mean, think about that.
That's pretty
And then just on the front, I had her put some flowers here, but so you guys can do other markets, but don't go cheap on your contractor, and make sure that they're kick-ass.
awesome story.
Thank you, Chad. More to come. Now we're heading into another buy hold after a flip. Mark and Jyoti.
Nick,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Jad made it so easy. Can you ask Jad some questions, or is he available for questions?
Sure, yeah, do it. Or
Hey, Jad.
maybe, Jad, could you put your information down, and I could connect you guys offline. Jad, would you mind sharing it in the chat?
Hey, Jay.
But does anyone have like a big question that might be helpful? What's a
Yeah.
big question that people are pondering?
Shadi's got one.
Yeah, so I was wondering, right? Like, you made it sound so easy. Like, you can do 1-2 houses a month. Like, realistically, especially if you're interested in investing in DC, where like it's very competitive. So my question, how much reserve do you need? I know probably you finance your deal through hard money or commercial and stuff, right?
Yeah, so good question. So I have a good relationship now with several hard money lenders, now that I've done a lot of deals, where they just give me the entire money for the home, and then I just use my own money to finance the house. So for instance, like this house, this was a different where the hard money lender gave me the money for the rehab and gave me money for the house, but I still had to front the money to do that. But so with this one, I would have gotten the hard money lender to give me the entire 300, then I would have done 140. And then I moved on, but usually the rehab costs are about 100,000. So I have about, so like say if you have 500,000 in reserves, that means you can do 5 houses at a time, but for me, I can do up to, as many as I want at this, and not as many as I want. But every time you flip a house, remember, you make 80,000, you make 80,000, you make 80,000, you make 80,000. So after 1 year of doing this, you'll have at least 600 to 800,000. I'm not going to say 800, but about 600,000 in reserves. And then also, once you start getting rentals, you can get credit lines against your rentals. And so I have a $300,000 credit line against my rental. I have a $250,000 HELOC against my house. I have an additional 500,000 in liquidity. And then you just keep building.
Well, thanks, man. We got to go to the next one to keep this moving, but then thank you, Shad. And you put your information down, and this is a sharing. We want to do deals together, so please use the chat function as we're going through these. Share the information, ask questions on the chat. Even if we move past you, feel free to use that. This is for you guys to do deals together, with or without us. It's to really build the network and build you guys up. So please don't stop the conversation. Share your information, text, email them now. Thanks, Shad. So next, as I said, Mark and Jyoti, great couple. They're going to talk to you about their experience buying and renting this beautiful home in Columbia Heights.
Hi, everyone. This is weird. This is a special day for me. It's my first time being on a Zoom call with my wife. So, who's in Washington and I'm in Canada. Jyoti's coming up here for Christmas in a couple of days, but we're doing Christmas with our family separately until Boxing Day. But And also, I guess it's Jyoti's first time meeting this group. I've joined a few of these meetings and really enjoyed it. And in fact, I only realized at the start of this call that this one of these meetings is what motivated me to do this deal. So I know Nick was talked at some point about doing like a what I think he was calling at the time a group house model. So buy a really big house in DC, try to get some, try to fix it up a bit and try to get some young professionals in there who want to live in a big house. So that's what I set out to do. That's what we set out to do. In the end, we got a different tenant, but we got an excellent tenant, and I'm really happy with the outcome. But just to take you through the story. So the property is 2827 11th Street Northwest. It's a 3,000 square foot townhouse in Columbia Heights. It was a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, and it has 2 kitchens. So it's sort of like it kind of has 2 units. Like I call the downstairs unit like a semi-private unit. Because it has separate kitchen, but the setup was never really, it's never really been a legal 2-unit. Yes, so I think, pretty quickly I figured out that house was great, but I think it looked to me like there was rental turnover in it due to there being well, my theory was insufficient bathrooms. So it was a 5-bed, 3-bath, but really the upstairs unit by itself just had 2 baths, and one of them was really right next to the kitchen. So I thought, people don't want to live in this house because they're going to have to go take a shower right next to their kitchen, and if you're living with 5 people, it's not going to be a very attractive setup. So we decided to add 2 bathrooms, and that cost us about 80 grand in addition to a whole bunch of other various things we did to kind of upgrade the kitchen a little bit, upgrade all the bathrooms. So we're going through here. Yeah, we're going through the before photos. This is from the listing when I bought it, actually. And Nick, you might be able to pull up photos from like the Zillow rental, from that would be after the renovation, or like Zumper or something. But yeah, we had heard from the seller that they were renting it for $5,500 a month, and like I said, it sort of looked to me like they were maybe only 1-year leases at a time. So in the end, after the renovation, we got $6,600 for the whole house. We were trying initially for more. We were trying to get closer to $7,500 for the whole place. But we had to drop the price once. We dropped it a second time, and in the end, one guy wanted both units. We were listing both the 2 units separately, but fortunately for me, someone wanted both upstairs and the downstairs, and that was worth something to me, so I cut them a deal on that. I guess a few challenges. My contractor thought he could do this in 2 months, ended up taking him 5. And initially, my wife is my partner now, but initially we were planning on going in on the house with some friends of ours, and they ended up not having the same level of confidence as we did in our ability to get the rent that we ended up getting. So he didn't go in on the deal, but what else can I say? Any questions or?
I could say that the basement was like a major surprise. We had this whole thing like, do we pay to make the ceiling height higher in the basement so it's a legal unit that's separate? which we didn't really do. But then something happened, like there was a leaking pipe under the basement, and our contractor basically had to dig up and re-cement and have a plumber fix the basement.
Yeah, really good point, Jyoti. We thought about doing a basement dig out as part of the renovation, but we really stretched ourselves financially to do this at all. So we decided not to do it. And in the end, we in adding the 2 bathrooms to link to the new sewer line, we ended up breaking the sewer line. We ended up having basically to dig out the basement anyways, but we weren't permitted to do the basement dig out, and by that point we just wanted to get it done. So we fixed the sewer line, finished the basement, and maybe we'll do that dig out some other day in the future.
What sort of rent did you end up getting?
So in the end, we're getting 6,600, and
How does that compare to your monthly payment?
And we financed so we put 25% down on a $965,000 purchase price. So we've got a lot of equity in the house, but the loan, the $700,000 loan, we got that at it's a 30-year 3.25%. So the monthly is $3,800. So we're really cash flowing, a lot there, almost $3,000 a month. But yeah, I want to. I guess the next step in this project for me is I do want to cash out refi, but the market's not as good as it was, and with the conventional loan limits having just gone up to now 965 or so, not 965, 970.
No, I think you're right.
Like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
We could pull that allow us to pull almost $250,000, assuming we can get a good appraisal. So I'm listening to this advice about getting a good appraisal. Nick thinks this would appraise really well, and I just hope I'm lucky with the appraiser that we get.
Yeah, and later in our presentation, YCI Properties, Shadi, Joe, and Isamar are going to, if they shared with me, and if I'm allowed to, I'll share when they're presenting their pitch book that they use at their appraisal.
That they use where?
At their appraisal, like a pitch book, like kind of.
To show the value, to demonstrate the value.
Yeah. They'll explain it more.
All right, I'm excited. Shadi, get these trade secrets.
Appraisal booklet.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we also spent a lot of time talking about was like if we should move into the house. Like we didn't, to make it not an investment property, I guess, for tax and financing benefits, because the house is only like a mile from our house. So that was like a really nice part about this renovation, was that it was only a mile away. The last renovation had been like a 40-minute drive away. So we did the opposite of Jad. We went to the house like a couple times every week. Yeah, so we didn't move, but we talked a lot about if that would help improve the profitability.
Imagine that right now you can buy $1 million property with an FHA loan, then fix it up, move out of it, and make it your rental. Because the loan limit's at 970 something. It's amazing.
Exactly. So that's what I'm thinking about for the next project. But Jyoti and I do like our current residence, so we'll have to make some sacrifices maybe.
Yes, and that leads us. Thank you, Mark and Jyoti. Great story, and I appreciate you, Jyoti. My partner Alina. I'm gonna have her watch the recording because this is what we're trying to do. I'm very envious and proud of you guys supporting each other on this project.
Thanks, Nick. Good. I hope that I can be a positive influence there. Yes, Mark had to convince me to be more risk-takey and stuff, but it all panned out, even when we had to float the double mortgage for 5 months.
Thanks for that, Jyoti.
So without further ado, Russell and Alexis, I think, Russell, you're on. Do you want to share? And this is a good one, maybe to take notes on, Mark and Jyoti, because you guys, what Carlos tells me, you guys live in there for a period of time. Is that correct?
Yes, we actually bought this Boardman 2019. It's in Petworth. I assume it's probably very similar layout to John's house that he previously mentioned. When we bought it, it was a 3-bed, 2-bath, wasn't really updated. The previous owners had maybe done a little bit in the basement with regards to carpeting. So the first year that we lived there, we actually did the bare minimum just to make it livable and clean. And then we didn't start doing renovations until probably spring of 2020. And we did the majority of it ourselves. And then we had contractors for things that we didn't know how to do, such as plumbing, electrical, and the mini split system. We went in at 620 with seller's credit, and then we ended up selling it for $895. And because we were using it as a primary residence, we did, we're able to use the 2-year capital gains to our advantage without having to pay taxes on the profits. And as Carlos knows, using primary residence has become our MO with acquiring property. So yeah.
So we did a lot of the work ourselves. It was kind of a live-in flip. So started out as primary and did a lot of work, or all the work while living there. So not with a functional kitchen for a lot of that time. So
it's a true test of a marriage when you can stay married with a kitchen that's completely demolished for a whole year.
Wow.
And then so with that, we utilize the profits from this to leverage it to, larger assets and properties in more desirable locations so we could do buy and holds. So we currently have a 2-unit Victorian in Eckington, which we have 2 young professionals renting the basement from us. And then we also purchased another Victorian in Capitol Hill a couple months ago. Yeah.
Yep.
So if I can just plug how proactive these guys are. They sold the house that they bought in 2019 in 2021, and then they bought the 2-unit in 2021, right? Like, correct me if I get it wrong, but with a FHA loan, so that they sort of kept their liquidity maximized. And then they also, so they managed to use this property that's up on the board. They bought it in 2019. They stayed in it just barely 2 years. They made a big profit off of it. Plus they got their down payment back. But so even though they were getting that payday, they had the discipline to buy a 2-unit with an FHA loan to hang on to that money. And then they bought another fee simple Capitol Hill to rent out as a group house. But they had to put 20% down, but they locked down a good low rate to do that. That was the first time that they've had to do a big down payment, unfortunately, because they didn't move into it as a primary, because they had just finished moving into something as a primary. But it was a very good opportunity. So I think their main MO is to move through, this process with your primary residence loan application is the way to do it. But in a way, you could think of it like the fact that they did, when they had a lot of money from the sale, they still were disciplined to do an FHA on the 2-unit, which was only 3.5% down. They grabbed a big asset 2-unit property there that preserved the cash to then go to the 20% down. So they're constantly thinking about how to use a loan instrument to maximize their ability to jump on things. Sure enough, we're back at the drawing board talking again about what's next. I think they also have a very good eye for houses that maybe are not too cool, but very, very solid, so that then you can make them cool. But you're not having to completely reinvent.
What I still can't get over is you guys do some of the renovations. Where do you find the time? And you guys are great. Like, my wife and I do projects, but man, Jeez, Louise.
Well, yeah. Thanks,
Only when the
COVID.
father-in-law
Thanks,
is-
COVID, for being able to work remotely and
Yeah, thank you,
get stuff
COVID.
done
Yeah,
during the
thank-
day.
Oh
But,
my
Russell,
goodness.
maybe you can talk about
You
what it
are
was like.
talented. You guys are
You were-
talented.
Russell, maybe you can talk about what it was like when you were growing up, bopping around with your parents.
Oh yeah, so grew up around a lot of stuff. My grandfather was bricklayer for his entire career and life, and my dad's been in the construction industry in the Boston area, more like commercial residential projects, but grew up around a lot of that doing. They had a few rental properties and grew up around some of those renovations. So kind of had been exposed to it, but I wouldn't say like. Also a lot of YouTube videos to learn some of the newer stuff that had not done hands-on in the past.
And I think that the other thing I'll add is that I think they're very good at doing what they can do, but then also, if I may say, incorporating input. And sometimes the input will relate to maybe the nuances around market timing. Like if you if you go back to that photo tour, for the after, Nick, of Broad Creek Church Road, just show the backyard again. One of the things that impressed me was it was important to get the house listed, and at the very end they powered through. And maybe it was hard for Russell and Alexis to agree to do this, but they paid someone else to just boom do this. And I remember I saw it one weekend, and then I came back a week later and was like, wow, it was done. But then we caught the market at the right time.
Yeah.
So they
like the way the gray fence. Look the way the gray fence matches the deck. Like that's amazing. That's like the extra detail.
Yeah, that was hands-on. But yeah, the pavers is something had experience with, but yeah, timing-wise, probably would have taken me us a lot longer to do.
That's amazing.
But then we caught the market at just the right time, and quite honestly, I couldn't believe that the people who bought the house paid what they paid.
Yeah, I think definitely there's some good opportunities in Petworth, but this specific property, we just weren't in love with like the long-term prospects of it for like buy and hold and like refinancing out. So that's why we kind of decided to take the profit, look at other properties.
That's Nicholas. See how you pulled up the before pictures? Just all the investors on this call. Look at that. They could have been cheap and just kept it the same color. Or are they the next door? Are they this is their house, right? The brown one, Nicholas?
Oh
yeah.
Yep, that's
You
right.
guys painted it, and then you guys matched. And you guys put up a wood fence here on the right and matched it to the deck.
Yep.
That's amazing.
Clever
No.
fixes, and no taxes on that gain because they used the 2-year rule. I mean, you guys were there 2 years and a day, right? Something like that.
Yeah.
Wow. How much did this cost you? The stamped concrete.
So those are actual pavers. I think it was around 10, maybe 10K.
Carlos did something similar. I think he took some tricks out of you guys' books. One is he constantly raves about good structures, additions, brick additions. And I noticed this has a nice brick addition, and YCI Properties is, kind of turned me on to that, where you get additional square footage where most houses, I'm trying to find a good picture that details that. But, and then two, I think didn't you do a nice paver in one of your rentals, Carlos?
Yeah, I was totally inspired by that.
Yeah.
I transformed the backyard. I just mimicked that. It was so pretty.
But with the additions, though, just be careful. I had a client who bought a house in Falls Church, and it was double square footage. That's why he bought it. It's only one problem: the addition wasn't permitted, and so the addition was like sinking into the ground. And he got like a 20-page stop work order on his house during construction about the addition. So if you guys do, it's awesome. Just make sure that the addition was actually permitted. And so if you guys see any houses and the siding doesn't look like it matches, it might be a sign that it's not permitted.
Well, I think in DC it's a little bit different because they have those whatchamacallits, the porches that are typically added on
The old sleeping.
or used. But that is true. But that's why they go for brick additions. But your point is the permit, which I don't have
This
a
was a
comment
brick
on.
addition. We just speak. I mean, again, I don't know DC that well. Just Virginia and Maryland. It was a brick addition, and then when they went to go do the home inspection, it turns out like the whole addition was breaking off the house. Again, another reason why a wholesaler would sell it to my client. So imagine you guys have a whole house in Falls Church, and there's an addition on the back. That addition was like a master bedroom, but there's only one problem with that addition. It wasn't permitted. And also like the stuff that stays to the back of the house was like, you could see a gap already forming and sinking into the ground. It's crazy.
Mm.
House was listed for 800,000.
Yeah, no bueno, makeshift additions, but I think the point was brick additions in the district square feet. Anyway, leading us, and thank you both. I look forward to hearing about your through Carlos or through the grid about your other experiences in Eckington and Capitol Hill. I have 2 houses in Capitol Hill, so I'm continuously inspired by hearing about you guys. And then the man, the legend, Carlos Garcia. He talks, he walks the talk, he talks the walk. I didn't know you did the upstairs. This is a cool story. I'll just say it before he could say something. Is that we go on a lot of listing appointments. I'm Robin, he's Batman, and we go in there and we say, we're going to sell your house and we're going to do it really well. This house unfortunately had some problems. We signed the listing agreement, which is an agreement to list a property for a certain amount, a little high, but he had heart problems, like literally during COVID. So the owner that was living there, there were some other issues. Fast forward 2 years, we lose the listing. He buys it market price, maybe a little bit more, and he renovates it for himself. So who better to end the year than Carlos buying this beautiful, I'll pull up this beautiful U Street property.
I thought we were going to hear from Joe and Shadi.
They are the finale.
Oh, great. Oh, good. They're the grand finale.
Yes.
This was a funny story. It's a pre-19. I'm really into the houses. Sometimes beyond the numbers. So I have a lot of heart in it. It's not just all brain for me, because I'm really passionate about houses, beautiful old houses. And this is a pre-1900 house. But we, like he said, we approached it just as a listing, and we got a listing agreement. I've never had this happen in my life. I've signed the agreement, I bring it home, and then I've tried to call my client to talk about next steps, and I can't get hold of them. And this happened for months. And I'm like, well, do I just put it on the market? But then how are people going to access it? And I'm authorized to do that. This agreement says so, but this is very strange. Let me not do that. So I didn't list the house. And then, like a year later, because I was calling him every month, no answer. Like a year later, another brokerage lists it. I'm just like, what the heck? And then that brokerage fails to sell it. And part of the reasons they failed to sell is that they couldn't get anyone in there to see it. Some people did get in to see it, but not a lot of people. What happened was that the guy, the owner, who's in his 50s, had heart replacement surgery. He has the heart of like a 26-year-old with a beating heart. And he got his kidney replaced. He paid for the kidney. There's a market for that. But the heart was like donated to him. So by the time I physically see the guy again, he's a big guy. He's maybe like 6'4". And he was like 6'4", 270 when I meet him. Maybe 250, 60. He's like 6'4", 190. Looking good. Yeah. And when we first met him, he was a little bit like, hey, is that guy strange? And we sort of thought, yeah, he's strange. He doesn't look you in the eye. I don't quite get him. The next time I see him with his new heart, he's looking you right in the eye. He's right on top of it. He wasn't well. He was really not well. And we just didn't know that. So what we did was I ended up having a 1031 exchange, and I've got the money with the exchange agent. I'm needing to buy a property. And somehow I thought to calling him. No, his brother. And his brother was like, didn't you know what happened was the heart surgery and blah, blah, blah. So anyhow, we renovated the basement, and that's what we've done so far. The cool part of this story is all that pathway is new. Now he's renting the house back from us. Like, we became friends. When my wife and I went to meet with him about buying the house, he told us his story, and we left his house, and then we realized that we needed to call him about next steps, but we had totally forgotten about buying his house, because the story was what blew us away, and we forgot all about the house. And we're like, oh yeah, we need to talk. We need to meet again to talk to you about the house. So we became friendly. We were very happy for this guy, that he's got a whole new life. He's doing really, really well. So what we worked out was, we renovated the lower unit and we rented back to them the upper unit. So they're renting the main house upstairs for like no money at all. We want to rent it for like $6,000. They're renting it for like $3,600 a month right now. But they're letting us renovate inside while they live in there. So it's a totally cooperative relationship. We've gut renovated one full bathroom. Right now we're actually under a lot of pressure to finish gut renovating the second one, so that it can be done in time for Christmas, so that they can have friends and family over for the last time in this house. They're going to live in it through like, I think like March or April. I forget what our agreement says.
What a nice guy you are. What a nice guy.
The big question is whether they're going to let us renovate the kitchen. And the guy was thinking about taking a long trip to Egypt. He loves Egypt. And he knows a lot about Egypt. He's lived in Egypt. If he goes for like 6 or 8 weeks, then maybe we'll do the kitchen while they're away. But they've let us do bathrooms. So it's a very good story. I'd say that we got a decent deal, not a great deal, but with our renovation smarts, maybe by the end of it, we'll be in it. Basically, we paid 1.3, got a lot of credits. Basically, we paid 1.3. I think maybe we'll put 250 in it, and it'll be worth $2 million.
Wow, congratulations, Carlos. I think that's the biggest deal of the year. Wow, I'm over here doing like 300, 400,000. You're like different levels, Carlos.
Well, no, I mean, certainly not in terms of the profits I'm making. Buy and hold, it's a long-term play.
No, I'm crushing you in profit, but you have the better property.
I mean, it's a good one. I love it. It's a trophy. It's pre-19.
I am jealous right now.
The ceiling height is like amazing in there. I don't know if you can tell from the photos, but like, we sell a lot of 1910, 1915 houses, which are terrific. But when you go into like a house from like the 1880s or so, you're like, whoa, this is something. It's just different. I can't even tell what the main level wood floors are made of. It's a wood I don't recognize. It's not in my vernacular. Like, I don't know what kind of wood it is.
I am seriously jealous right now, Carlos, and I don't get jealous.
Chestnut.
Yeah, you said that.
Maybe.
Yeah, it could be chestnut. I think you're right, but I don't. From what I hear, it could be chestnut, but I don't really know what chestnut looks like. So like, I'm looking at it, and I don't know what it is. It's very hard, and it has like no grain in it. It's so beautiful.
You did rent back, right?
Pardon?
You did rent back, and you don't mind it in DC?
You said you rented it back, and you don't mind that you rented it back to the tenant. Chaddy
yeah, sorry. So you bought it and you rented back to the previous owner, right? Yeah. So you did rent back, right? Yeah. So yeah, you don't mind to do this in DC, since DC is very tenant friendly, and you don't know, maybe so is it concerning for you or not?
I think that's a good question. In this particular instance, my instincts are not up. I mean, I'm not worried. I could be wrong. Yeah, that's a good question, though. Yeah, no, in general, you don't. This was a special situation. It gave me the latitude to have some money come back at me. Also, it came back all at once, like right at the table. Like, imagine it was like a 9-month rent back at like 3,600, or maybe it was 10 or 12 months. Boom, all coming back to me at the table. And then I had renovation money right there. Not a lot of cash flow, but and plus I negotiated a big credit. Plus I got my commission. So boom, all this money came at me, and I started spending it, renovating it. Now I'm putting my own money in.
And also, Shadi, don't forget.
I think it's a good question.
But Shadi, remember, he has keys to the house. So if the guy doesn't want to leave, I'm sure Carlos can F some stuff up in the house to make him leave.
I don't know, man.
Avoid the toilets. holes in the walls, put rats in the thing. Carlos can make the tenant's life very difficult, right, Carlos?
Yeah, and you know, I didn't do it in this case, but if I could have, I would have structured a payment to him upon leaving. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, smart.
Like a big payment, like of the price, part of the price. But I didn't feel it was necessary to do that.
Are you going to Airbnb, Carlos, once the guy leaves, or what's your long-term goal for this?
No, I'm just going to do a really high-end upper rental, probably to 3, you know, young lawyers or something like that. 3 or 4 rather. So I hope to get 4 people up there, at least at $1,500 a pop. Plus, I've got a lease for $2,400 in the basement. That'll be $8,400 a month.
That's amazing.
But if I might get lucky if it comes out looking so amazing. Like if the upstairs looks like the downstairs, my wife has taken her sweet time and spent more money than we should, but done it really pretty, like beyond what I was imagining. Maybe I can get $7,500 upstairs. You know, maybe I can get like, you know, what would 1,900 per person times 4 be? You know, somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 per person times 4 upstairs is my expectation, because it's just
how many parking spaces came with the unit? Is there
That's great.
For a property that doesn't have parking, I can try a multi-year process, I've been told, of trying to get a curb cut, because it's you know, it's a end of row, so at the backyard you can do a curb cut off the side street if you can get the city to do it.
Well, congratulations, Carlos. That's an amazing deal. I'm very jealous.
Well, it's funny you say that. I mean, I think it's an amazing property, but not an amazing deal. You know what I mean?
$8,400 a month, Carlos, is not an amazing deal.
You got to make the deals happen, my friend.
$8,400 a month.
But I don't think the way your mind works, you'd be happy with paying, let's say 1.3 plus the 250. If I end up at 155, 8,400 is not enough rent for you at that price, is it?
Honestly, with that money that you spent, I could have bought 9 houses.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a passion play. It's not I don't know that it passes your algorithm.
So how much down payment you put, Carlos?
20%. No, excuse me. I put more than that because it was a 1031 exchange. So, I do have a very small loan, like relative to the value. It's going to be like, you know, it's 800 and something thousand. So it will cash flow well, but I'll have too much equity in there. I might have to think about refinancing.
Totally refinancing. Yeah.
I think I will. In fact, you know what?
You totally should.
I hadn't thought about that till right now. I will do
totally
that.
Should.
On the 2 unit, what's the 2 unit loan limit again? 1, 2?
Conventional.
Yeah, I might be able to pull 400 out of it.
Yeah.
I might be able to pull 400 out of it. In fact, I think I'll do that on the 2. Yeah, I think I should do that probably. Do the 2 unit limit and you know, plump up my 8 something to 1, 2 or something.
Hopefully, I was hoping to get us in person to see it. This project in particular, the bottom unit, because it's vacant, and to have a meeting there. But maybe next year, once Omicron is done. But this is great. You know, lead by example. You know, good job, Carlos. You know, looking forward to what deals we could talk about next year. So we got 2 more left. I know we're running a little bit over 7 o'clock. I do these 2 guests. I wish we could have a part 2 of this, because Bruno and then YCI, you know, best for last, or you know, different. So Bruno, if you want to take it from here, this is one of your projects on Ontario. If you just want to say maybe the challenges or any cool stories that you have for us about this one.
Yeah, so I picked this one because they're like, hey, what up, Carlos? Yeah, I picked this one because we had quite a few challenges actually on it. So the first challenge we had is we did not see, actually something you cannot see on the pictures, is the neighbor's tree. So the neighbor has an historic tree in the middle of his yard, and we had to push back the basement by about 10 feet. The architects missed it, didn't order a topological survey, and we totally missed, you know, the tree on the neighbor's land. And so historic trees, we cannot kill them or, dig our basement all the way to the roots of the tree that were too close to the neighbor's yard. So that was quite a bit of a challenge there. So we had to actually lose quite a big chunk in the basement. Like we had a 10 to 15 feet setback for the basement unit. So this is a 6 unit. We were planning on having 7 units, 2 in the basement. And actually, I don't know if you can go in the alley to see it on the back.
Where is it? I'm in Google Maps. Do you go this way?
No. This is you're totally in the wrong street. You need to be in Ontario, 2466 Ontario Road. Yeah, just hit it again so the Google Maps gets there, the address, because you're not even close. Yeah, you zoom in. Yeah, that's behind it. So you go to the left, and there's a little alley. I don't know if Google Maps went into it, or you may be able to just drop the guy in the alley on the back.
Okay, I'll do that while you talk.
Yeah, so we were planning on doing 7 units, so we lost an entire unit. So that was a chunk of our profits that was lost over there, and that kind of sucked. So that was the first challenge. The second challenge was there was a little bit of gradient between the front and the back of the house. So when you make those condos, a lot of times your basement is 3 square footage. It doesn't count toward your FAR, the buildable area that the city gives you. And so what happened there is, the architect we were trying to avoid a raise permit to reset all the heights. And we ended up having to do it. So we lost almost 6 months on that again, because the architect didn't, or the topological survey, we could have seen the difference in height between the front and the back. That was another disaster there. So those were kind of like the two main issues we encountered. But we end up having one big unit in the.
Bruno, we're looking at where's
the tree? You can zoom in a little bit. It's on the neighbor's yard. Yeah, that's it. That's the back. So that big tree right there, that's on the neighbor. So we are on the property on the right, actually. So that's the tree, and then
that's a huge tree. Oh
and
my
the architect.
God.
I know, it's the size of the yard. So yeah, go a little bit to the keep going down the street a little bit, and yeah, that's. Yeah,
what the problem is. How does that affect you guys?
Because the roots in our land.
Oh shit!
So that was the biggest problem right there.
Because you guys are excavating.
Yeah, we're excavating, and the basement units would have to go back very close to the tree, and that was a huge. So we lost a unit out of this.
Oh, because you're going back as far as this one on the right here, maybe even a little bit more. Oh,
right,
okay.
As far as we could. Right.
Gotcha.
Is this a protected tree, Bruno? Like I know some trees are protected. Okay.
Yes, that's the issue. It was an historic tree, yeah.
Yeah.
What a little sucker.
Something get diagnosed as a historic tree. Isn't it an old tree supposed
All
to be
trees are historic.
It's by the circumference. The circumference is over 100 inches in diameter. Not diameter, sorry, in circumference. If it's over 100 inches, then it's an historic tree. And actually, that we're still paying to get this tree taken care of, because if he dies, we're gonna have to cut 50 grand to the city at least.
No way.
If he dies in the next 3 years. So we're still, the arborist is still going over there and taking care of the tree, giving a bunch of TLC. We don't want the damn tree to die.
Just the kind of red tape you live for, Jad.
You know what I was thinking though, Bruno, is that you could have just put termites into the trees, like really some serious termites, and you could have just taken pictures of it and said that it was a health risk, and boom, that shit would have gone down within 30 days.
Yeah, but I had a neighbor that was a little nuts over there. He was like a guy who's some type of, I don't know, policy maker or something, a guy that worked that was doing consulting for the government. The guy actually, it was kind of like a health issue. This guy had the biggest rats of DC. Like you see like boroughs, like, I don't know, like that big, like all over the place. And this guy didn't take care of anything. So people were giving us crap because they're like, oh, your construction is doing rats. And you can see on the neighbor's yard, like huge holes. And it was like all dirty and everything. And so we end up, and the next problem is we didn't have a chimney letter on with the guy. So that was kind of a little bit of an issue. So the guy, kind of knew what was going on. So he was like, hey, so I went to meet him, and we ended up, paying him like $15,000. Like, we just cut him a check for try to negotiate him down and whatnot. Went there, cut him a $15,000 check so he would let us extend his chimney. He took it, he, just wrote the check and moved on, right? At that point, that was kind of like a little bit of a disaster, this project. But it turned out at the end okay.
What did you buy it for? What did you put in? And how did you exit?
Look here. We bought it for about 1.4. We put in about 1.3, and we sold it for 4.2. So with closing costs and whatever, we made almost $1 million on this, but it still was quite a bit of could have been better just if we didn't have all those small all those issues.
Did you say that was it approximately a 2-year window to make that $1 million?
Yeah, we started on I was looking for the dates when we were looking at it. It was about exactly a little bit over 2 years, 2 years and a month or something, because we lost a lot of time reapplying for the raise permit. We lost 6 months right there. Usually they take about 6 to 18 months, but there it was like, we sold the last unit I was looking on May 18, and we acquired it on April 29, 2019, and we sold it this year.
And
So the permit took?
I'm sorry?
How long it took you to pull a permit?
No, not the permit. It's 6 months to get a raise permit. It takes quite a bit of time to get those usually. Just because you have to get all the disciplines involved, and you have to push, and we didn't have the best architects. So the lesson on this is just don't get any architect. Like, make sure that the architect you're working with is knowledgeable, and interview them pretty well, because part of the issues we had in this project were all related from the poor knowledge of the architects that end up being quite a bit of issues.
Bruno, how did you find the architect? Like, was he referred to you by another investor? Did you find him on Facebook? Like,
I'm sorry, for what?
How did you find the architect? Like, how was he referred to you?
Oh, this architect was a referral, like a guy that said, "Oh, I worked with this architect, just work with them." But it was a referral, bad referral. We're never doing this. We're not going to get burnt again, like with some stupid stuff like that.
So it's interesting. It took you a little more than 2 years, and you netted about $1 million. How long in your affirmative plan? You had probably scenario A and B, maybe A, B, and C. What was scenario A, the better scenario, supposed to be in terms of number of months and profit?
Well, about 18 months. We should have finished this. As far as the profit, we pretty much hit what we were trying to target, right? It would have been an upside if we would have, saved on the time and things like that. We always do comps conservatively. We don't overstretch any of our comps when we're, making our pro formas. So in this case, we did hit the pro forma. But we think that, with having this extra unit, we could have probably, and the time savings, we probably could have hit maybe another 10 to 15% on the profit side.
So maybe as much as 1 million.
Yeah, 1.1 maybe. 1.1 would have been a good number. 1.1, 1.15, more or less, right? Would have been a good number. Because we lost a unit, so we sold the basement for 600, and we could have had like two nice units.
Wow, 600 for a basement unit, yeah.
And yes, it was a nice 2-bedroom. Yeah.
And
No.
you're working on another project right down the block that I'm working with you on.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
those preliminary drawings look gorgeous. It's a bigger lot, right? It's similar, but a
Yeah.
little bigger.
But you know what's that's so fascinating, because there's a project on Ontario that they're selling their basement units for like 350, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the
We sold-
mindset. It's how you take on a project and like really embody it, because you guys aren't the ones, and people have this philosophy is I'm not going to do it unless I do it right,
Right.
you know. And I really appreciate that. And that just goes to show, you know, it's all sweat equity, man. If you want the profits, you gotta eat dirt for a little bit.
Right.
Bruno, tell us why you do condo conversion, why you don't do, you know, single family home, buy and hold and stuff like.
We may do some next year, because next year we don't have a lot of inventory. I mean, we have a lot of inventory, but everything is in permitting. But usually it's mostly about risk management, because the issue with single families, so it's very difficult to hit, you know, over 15 to between, usually it's probably between 15 to 20% return on investment. When you do condos, it's more involved, but we don't touch anything below 20% return. That is a big no-no, because, you know, if something goes wrong, you start losing money very fast, as it is more expensive. So we try to avoid the risk. So we did a few houses back in the day in Capitol Hill. We had 2 houses. We actually lost money on both. It was like we sold them the first March of the pandemic, 2 houses in Capitol Hill. Right at March 2020, we lost, you know, both of them combined about $100,000. But that was mostly due to, I mean, the pandemic, right? The market just dried up. We had those 2 houses. We're paying out money on it. We don't know what's going to happen. And we just dump it. Like, you know, 2 buyers were lucky buyers. They got the deal on those. So mostly about, you know, the percentage of profit that can be made. We try to avoid, you know, single families because of that. But we're probably going to pick up some next year. We have actually a couple of things on a contract, just because all our buildings that we have, they're under permitting right now, and we don't think it's going to be done. I mean, it's going either permitting or it's going to be in construction next year. So we're not going to be able to sell anything by the end of the year.
But Bruno, you know, Nicholas and anyone else that's on here, a thing that you guys kind of missed about what Bruno had said is, he said the architect was his biggest disaster, right? But
yeah.
look who referred him to him. It was another investor. So
right.
like, all of like the deals that I didn't do well on this year were from like people on Facebook tagging GCs, tagging other people. People like investors, you have to be very wary. Investors will never, in my opinion, will never share their best people with you. They'll normally, someone like, you know, look, think of it, Bruno's biggest disaster was the architect, and it came from a friend who referred him. Now, we don't know about the investor and whether he made a good referral to Bruno, but we can assume that maybe that architect had messed up his job, or maybe he's never going to use that architect again, and maybe he's just trying to keep the architect busy. I would be very surprised, Bruno, if that investor didn't have his main architect, and he didn't just give you this guy that was in his phone.
Yeah, and local.
They were
like,
friends,
you know,
actually.
Problem.
They were friends, right? I discovered later that that architect actually did the house for that guy. Did his house, and they're friends, but they're not really. I don't think they are doing a lot of projects together. And if they are, that's a disaster.
Numbers. Look at the numbers. You know, how many they're doing, in DC, because this project's in DC, because then they'll go right away. Oh yeah, that's gonna be an issue, because I've seen it before. Because if we were in the suburbs of Virginia, it just wouldn't matter. You know, you're building a house, not, you know, the price per square foot. You're hiring these guys, or it's, you know, you just lost, you know, a lot of square footage potential.
Yeah,
so there's a lot less
bit.
room for error, and having someone local, and that just sucks. That sucks.
Yeah, I mean, the investor is local to DC, but the architect, I mean, the investor, the architect is local to DC, but there's a lot of things that that the architect didn't know. We actually end up getting some help. For example, applying for raise permit with the difference of height between the two levels. She didn't know how to bypass that because that was going to mess up the entire project. She was like, no, we can only make 5 units. And we end up talking to other developers that we know, and they're like, hey, why don't you do a raise permit and reset the heights and all that stuff, and then you build whatever you need. And we had to actually tell her, apply for a raise permit, we'll eat the 6 months versus losing the 600,000 on the unit at the bottom. So that would have been terrible. That would have been even worse.
I mean, I think that if anyone on this call, if anyone tags someone on Facebook for a good contractor or a good architect, just be very wary. No one would, in my opinion, no one would ever tag anyone good on Facebook. Why would anyone want to share that person with the rest of the social media universe? So
Yeah,
I would just
that's a good point.
And also to your point, Jad, I think the biggest joke is basically it's very attractive, you know, for investors to find off-market deal, and also we think if we buy it from wholesaler, they are better. So that's why people, they go to Facebook and then they see those posts from wholesalers on Facebook about off-market deal, which is like, you know, it's very weird. Like it's off-market deal and now it's on Facebook, right? And they send it to a bunch of investors. So now you're competing with like zillions. So this is very concerning. And yeah, usually, you know, we shouldn't go to those groups.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, like finding deals is probably the hardest part in this business. I mean, when you find a good deal, you can find the money, but the most difficult part really comes down to you know, getting a good deal, making sure it works. That's, you know, that's how the money is made in acquisition. Like I said in another great meeting, money is really made on acquisition, not really at the resale, because you're always capped by the market. If you buy right, you'll always make money.
Yeah. Well, good to hear from you, Bruno, and look forward to having you guest speak again. Always good to have you. And then transitioning into again, a great buy hold investor that got one as a short sale, and did it very well with the appraisal, and is now planning are planning to rent it out. So I'll let you guys take it over, and I'll also be able to pull up your pitch book that you use for appraisals.
Sure.
So YCI Properties.
Yes, so Nick was our realtor on this deal. So we bought a property in Capitol Hill East neighborhood in DC, and Nick showed this to us. It was a short sale, 2-bedroom, 3.5-bath house, single family home. And we were able to purchase it for $610 with 5% down. And basically, as was discussed before, we prepared, after we did our renovation, we prepared a very detailed appraisal booklet, because we really believe in kind of telling the story that we want. So we did the research, got the comps, took all the pictures, and basically had a number in mind and put a booklet together for the appraiser to make sure that that's the number we got. And then, you know, Shetty was also available on the day that the appraiser came and walked him through. So we printed these booklets for him, like had everything ready, walked him through the house. When we were able to get what we wanted. So the post rehab appraised value was 1.25 after doing the renovation. So we were able to gain, after 6 months of the project, basically $640,000 in equity is what we were able to gain from this deal. And we did a cash out refinance with this 1.25 post rehab appraised value, the ARV. And we were able to pull out over $480,000 in the cash out refinance. So that was definitely a lot more than we put into it. So our cash on cash return is infinite. In addition to that, we were able to get HELOC for 15% of the appraised value, which is all the equity that we had. So we basically pulled out all the money we could from the deal. And then we also have a HELOC for the rest of the equity that we can access at any time, and that's 187,500 in addition to the cash that we pulled out. And we turned this into a 6-bedroom, 3.5-bath house. So we are going to rent it out to a voucher holder. So the projected monthly rent for this neighborhood will be $6,281. So it's just a quick overview of the numbers.
Yeah, and you can see like from the photos, this was a total gut job. I mean, we went in and basically demoed everything on the inside, and there was like just 2-bedroom upstairs, and the basement level, there was no bedroom or anything. Everything, there's a lot of trash, a lot of junk. People are still living in there. Yeah, I mean, it was, I was going there maybe twice a week, kind of managing it, keeping an eye on the contractors and making sure things are going according to plans, to the architect plans. And so yeah, this was a good project for us. Our full gut job.
First big project.
Yeah, the one we had before is, I mean, we had a 3-unit before and another single family, but there were like a mid to light renovations, and we rented those out already. But
Joe,
this one,
you're gonna rent a $1.2 million house to a voucher tenant?
Absolutely.
Yes.
$1.2 million home with all the
1.25.
It's all about the cash flow, I said it's all about the cash flow, right? So it doesn't matter, and it's all about the screening as well. So that's the thing. I've had
to stay there forever. They're gonna stay there forever, man. Why would you leave? Why would you leave that?
Wait, how much have you invested in it between the purchase and the reno?
Sure. So in terms of the whole reno, from everything, including the architect to all the finishes, permits, everything, the contractors, we put in about $238,000, and then we put 5% down for the acquisition. So it's around $30,000 of the purchase price. And we were able to pull out a little over $480,000.
And what did you pay for the property on the purchase side?
610,000.
So you're basically in at 850.
850, correct.
But you pulled 400 out, and you're going to rent it out for 6,300 almost. That's
correct.
Amazing.
We're renting, sorry, but the point, so we're renting it out for life, right?
Yeah.
So because I assume any tenant, will come here, he's not gonna leave.
Are you guys doing that thing? Well, actually, what have you done to in terms of a process thus far to find it? Have you found your tenant already or not yet?
So one of our strategy, and I remember we were on a call, couple calls back, we talked about being a real estate ninja. And Carlos, you mentioned that how it's possible, us being flexible, we can actually live in the house. So that's how we were able to get that. So we are able to live in it, and it's been more than a year. So we can actually move out, because we are currently have two other projects. Two other projects undergoing. So once one of them is done, we'll move into that and one in Brightwood. So
you haven't moved out of this yet. You haven't found your, okay. Nick, have you told them about the Dr. Joe's process for interviewing voucher tenants?
Oh, they are Dr. Joe's.
Oh,
we have mastered it. I would say
they are the black belts. I would say they earn their black belts.
So share with the group how you're going to defy people's expectations of how the voucher tenant will treat your property, and what your relationship will be like with your voucher tenant versus what you can imagine people imagine it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of like bad rep about this, like, oh, Section 8. I mean, at first they're just like, tenants, just like any market tenants, they want to have a roof above their head. They want They want to have their kids living in a safe neighborhood. And it's all about, and we're going after families, right? And so those families, most of the time, you know, a single mom with, 4 or 5 kids, they just want to live, peacefully in a good neighborhood. And they want to take care. Yeah, they want to take care of the house, because they don't want to lose the voucher. So they kind of like invested, they don't want to, damage the house because they can lose their voucher. So this is actually in our benefit. So if you get a house 1.25 million, and would you want to lose it and do anything bad to it? Of course not. You don't want to stay and live in it.
Especially if you don't have to really pay rent for it. If you have a voucher,
you pay $100
a
month.
You're paying like $100 a month to live in a $1.25 million house with your family. Like, you're gonna want to stay there for 20 years. Like, take care of it, make sure, like, keep it in great condition. You have the voucher.
And the good thing about this strategy as well is, so you're saving on turnover. This is one of big expenses when you do a buy and hold strategy. Like, have the turnover and in management as well. We can eat like 8% of your monthly rental. So I mean, with the other triplex that we have, 2 of the tenants are voucher holders. I mean, we rarely go there to do anything, and I get calls every now and then, like little thing, but it's very easy to manage and easy to work with. We also, there's like a relationship that we build to kind of, it's relationship building. Basically, it helps throughout the year, stay in contact. We do the inspection together, things like that. Send them gifts over the holidays, and they will take care of the house. I mean, they'll do things and save you time and money. So it's actually very good strategy. And that's why we're doing it.
Yeah, and since our goal is to have limited to no turnover, so we put a lot of time up front into screening the applicants. So we're putting the time up front to make sure that we are going to find the best tenant that we can, because we want them to stay in the house as long as possible. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? And this is also Dr. Joe's process that you kind of hinted at.
Yeah, I mean, like the type part of the process of screening, we get applications, and we set the bar high at first, and so this way who's serious, who's going to take care of the house. Also, we go and visit where they currently live. It sounds crazy, right? But we do this once, and that's it. Like, it can tell you a lot when you go to the prospective tenants' current house, and you see how they live. This is how your house gonna look like in 3 or 6 months. So if you see that they taking care of it, then you feel better about like giving them the house. And we, once we tell them like, oh, you got the house, they'll be like jumping and excited. And it's very, very rewarding as well, because you.
So can I ask you a question? How many bedrooms is your house?
This one is 6 bedroom.
Oh, okay. So you took it to 6. I see. So 4 bedroom for the zip code is 4,070. So a 6 bedroom in this zip code is going for $6,000.
Correct.
About 6,300.
Yeah, we've talked with investors before, and that's what they've gotten from the housing authority for that number of bedrooms. And you get less turnovers with that, once you go in that numbers, because the families, they want to stay, correct? So they don't mind. And
one of the things that their mentor emphasizes is that the extreme lack of supply of houses, 5 bedrooms and above in DC creates a supply-demand dynamic that makes it pretty easy.
A surplus of demand.
Yeah, to find
where the demand curve, excess of demand, cream of the crop.
Yeah,
voucher tenants.
It's such a powerful dynamic that the tenants are crystal clear how important it is to find a good house, and so their process of finding a good tenant, that's the backdrop, is that they're jonesing, these tenants are, for a good house and a good landlord, so that they'll you're a good landlord with a good house, they'll meet you right there at that high level.
Carlos, I have a house that has 11 people living in it. It's a voucher tenant, 11 people. Like, I just don't think I don't think Joe and your significant, I don't think you guys know what you guys are in for. with 6 bedrooms and the people with the little kids flushing stuff down the toilet. Let's see, I pray that it goes well, but I own over 85 units between my brother and I. Actually, it's 110, and 90% is vouchers, right? I just can't wait for you guys.
How do you have a management company, Jared?
Of course. I don't have a management company because it's vouchers.
Oh.
So like I said, let's start over. I just have one lady that sits in an office, and because everything's ACH'd every month. But and then we have one guy full-time who goes, the handyman that goes to the properties, just preventive maintenance. But to have 6 bedrooms, do you know how many kids they have to fit in for a 6-bedroom voucher?
Well, yeah. It also depends. There's a lot of criteria to get 6 bedroom, not just number of kids.
Yeah, it's also about gender and age. Like DC has really strict criteria as well. They have like their strict formula that they use to determine that. So depending on the age and gender breakdown, it doesn't have to be 11 kids.
Carlos, can you do something like a year from today, once they rent it out, can we ask them what it's like having a 6-bedroom voucher, live in a $1.25 million house? I would love to see.
Well, their mentor has like what, 30 of them?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He has like 5 and 6 bedroom houses, and he rents them out. And like I said, he's able
very well. He started doing it in the early 90s. He got them very cheap.
Yeah. I mean, he's been doing it. So you're gonna have trouble regardless. Tenants, market tenants, or voucher holders. So it's not about it's about the screening process. That's why it's important to do that upfront. So once you do that, that's like after that you're cruising. And I mean, I've done this with the 3 bedrooms, 2 or 3 bedrooms too. I've had families come in with like 6 kids that have 3-bedroom voucher. It all depends, right? But like Nick mentioned, there's short of supply and there's a lot of demand. So you get to choose, right? So once you're in that position, you get to choose who you're gonna put in there, and that's where why we are ahead with this kind of. But yeah, we can do a follow-up. Why not?
Yes, and we're definitely gonna have YCI Properties talk about their venture, and they have 2 more. So looking forward to that success and future successes. So that wraps it up for 2021.
Nick, what happened to the appraisal thing, the genius thing, so that they never look?
You didn't see it.
That's the only reason why I stayed. I could have went to the gym. I'm a member of Lifetime. I have a class.
I had it up. Oh, okay.
I think it was.
Chaddy can talk about this too. Like he was there with the appraisal.
I haven't shaved basically for about 2 years. And then I
put this together
the day the appraisal was coming. So just like to make everything presentable.
So they put this together. It's a pitch book. Sometimes you put more pictures of the renovation. But kind of, did the appraiser kind of feel special getting this?
Yeah, definitely.
I remember. So I was giving, this is a booklet that we put together. It's about 8 pages, I think. And the first page, basically, before the pictures, we put what we renovated, right? So what we added, the value that we created in this house. And then we put the pictures. But also the impression that you will give the appraisal, I mean, he was, and also other stories I heard the same. So the appraiser, like, he was so flattered when he knew that I made this for him. So he was like, you did this for me. So that's one. And also, reminding him of the numbers that they are in our head. So I kept telling him 1.25, and I was like justifying it, even though, I don't know, we were very hopeful. Like we did not expect gonna be 1.25. We said it might come, about 1.15, 1.1. But I told him 1.25 on the phone, and I kept saying it 1.25, and it came 1.25. So, and he just
power of suggestion. I like it, Chaddy. Chaddy, how much would you charge to do this for other investors?
And he's also a lawyer. So you got 2 lawyers here, so he can make a case.
How much would you charge to do this for us?
Say it again.
How much would you charge to do this for other investors?
I mean, you know, we can share stuff, so I don't mind. You know, anyone would like to do this, you can just like, you know, send us email or yeah, we can share it, you know, for free. So don't
Just
worry.
call you Obi-Wan Shadi. You just do the Jedi mind trick. 1.25.
1.25.
So that makes me think a couple of things here. So two comments. The first one is people are lazy by nature, so I think it's a very good idea to do this. I mean, I know I have a friend that flips around Hagerstown, and he actually, you know, he creates an issue that is a false issue, that is an issue to be found by home inspectors, so that they have something to write on their report and they can move on. So he always leaves the leak, the kitchen sink linking. It's in purpose so that the guy finds it, the home inspector writes it down, and he's done. He found something, so he can justify their fee. This is a little bit the same concept. People are lazy. They don't want to really work. So, you know, feed them what they need, right? They need a report that looks good, whatever. You're just gonna write whatever you want, because if he can justify it some way and feel good about himself, he's gonna make his money and whatever. So appeal to the people's sense of what they want. So I don't know. That was the first comment, and the second one is.
I completely agree.
The second one is.
The next time Bruno gives me something,
appraisers.
The next time Bruno gives me something I want, I'm gonna be like, "What's Bruno trying to do here?"
Well, if it's a report, if you're gonna make my appraisals, Carlos, I'm gonna get you a nice report. But you know, those are the things that you know. I think that makes sense. Actually, my business partner doesn't want to do it. I was like, why don't we leave a leak in the thing, so they'll feel good, they get their fee, whatever. But he doesn't want to do it. You'll always choose the hard path, which, you know. But the appraisal trick is pretty smart.
I like that one. I like them both. I like them both. You know, appraisers just love to be stroked. Everybody likes their ego stroked.
Nicholas, can you tell us where YCI is buying their next property, so Bruno and I can see if we can try to move into that market? Right, Bruno, aren't you curious to know where YCI is buying their next 2 properties?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like, you know, I mean, we're gonna do voucher eventually.
Oh,
like,
that you want them to tell you what their 2 last properties they bought?
No, the ones that they're working on.
The next one.
Yeah. Oh, the next one. Oh, that's
the 1.4 million one.
Without giving away their trade secrets, I mean, one thing is clear. You know, you're going to the rich zip codes for the vouchers.
Yeah. No. I mean, so the 2 that we're doing now, one in Columbia Heights is end unit, and this is currently also 3 bedrooms, and we're turning it to a 7 bedroom.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
How many kids live in that?
You guys are laughing now. I just got a call this morning. I don't know how the tenant got my number. She said that the toilet backed up because her kids put shit in. I mean, you'll see. Young, we'll check back in with you 24 months. You guys will be like, forget Dr. Joe. This shit is for the birds. We're gonna rent it to embassy people where their money's guaranteed. It's only 3 people. Wait and see.
You're defeating the whole purpose. It's recycling housing inventory or upcycling it so they have better housing to live in.
Yeah, I mean, look, I like the model. I like the model. It's interesting.
Mid to low income.
You know what? Also, I think it's really important, the screening process. Like one of the tenants that we have, the voucher. So she had 3 bedroom voucher, but she lived in a 2 bedroom house for 11 years. And that house has a lead inside even, right? So, and more. Yeah. When we went and we visited the house, man, the house is like disaster. So this lady, she lived in that disaster house for 11 years. Even on top of this, she had 3 bedroom voucher, but she lived in 2 bedroom house. So that's why the screening is very important. So we were able to take this. So we rented 3 bedroom apartment for this lady and then now, like, we're so happy with it. I mean, it's been about a year, but I don't think she's gonna leave. I mean, she lived in that house for 11 years, right? And she's, you know, so I think it's very important, the screening process. So that's why we take our time to find the good tenant. Once we find it, you know.
I got it. So Bruno, Carlos, everyone, Columbia
Yes,
Heights.
we got it. We got
Columbia.
I mean, one last comment.
Yes.
One last comment on those guys' model. It does make sense.
And Bruno, we have to go to the Section 8 people's houses where they're currently living and make sure that they're clean people. That's the other tip they gave us.
Well, it does make sense. It does make sense. Actually, I have a story about that. So we bought the building. It was a 2-unit that we're doing in Corvert, Langston. And so when the architect went to do the, when the architect went to do some, like the Metaport thing to get an idea of the layout, the unit below, the guy let his dog pee in the house. The people upstairs were the cleanest people ever, and they both had vouchers. So it was like an older couple, very clean. Everything was very nice in their house. You go downstairs, the guy is like letting his dog pee in the house. So it does make sense. So I've seen that. The poor girl was a young architect doing the Metaport for the, for the main architect. And she had like her high heels over there, and in the middle of the dog, of the dog's piss and whatever. So that was kind of, that was. I kind of laughed a little bit, but it is what it is.
Well, this is the syllabus, the 18th, the 15th, and the 15th. So Section 8 investing. Let's circle back on that one. So we got great lineups. Coming out next year. Super excited. Hopefully by March, Omicron will be small, and Zeta, Eta, and Theta will be, little minuscule diseases. As the Greeks like to say, I think they're just coming out with these different variants. So Pfizer, which is also a Greek company, Greek owned, could keep making money. But hopefully sometime soon we could meet in person, but until then we'll be virtual. Thank you all for joining. Stay safe, guys.
Thank you all.
Let's do deals together. I'm going to send an email, and I'm going to copy everyone so you guys can reply. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll BCC.
Congratulations, everybody, on your success, and hopefully 2022 will be more success for all of us, and hopefully our appraisals will all come in on time. Hopefully YCI will rent it out to a voucher tenant that doesn't stuff toys in their toilets and flood their basement because they left the water on when they left the house and forgot to turn it off.
You should attend that March 15th, Jad, on Section 8 investing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys, take care.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Take care. Good night.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.
Good night.